Erased Destiny 2, The Knower. Chapter 15, When Nothing Goes as Planned. After telling Phineas that she had to go to the Crystal Palace for a few days, Etien locked herself in her hut. She was a little worried about her own body, whether it would survive a long stay in the land of the dead, or whether a year would pass by accident among the living and the civil war would pass Etien by. That is why Etien asked Zuzu to check on her mother every few days, and, if necessary, to strengthen her body with a ritual. The sleeping potion that Etien brewed should allow her to wander carefree through unreal wilderness for at least a month. Still, the woman did not feel confident about leaving her own existence behind. She noticed that Marigold did not accompany her on her trips to the land of death. Traveling with her body, Etien risked a number of unpleasant consequences: accelerated aging, sensory disturbances, permanent damage to her health. As a specter, she could stay there as long as she needed to. So she moved, with only her consciousness, to the vicinity of the pool of life, the unfathomable well of knowledge about those who had passed away. A place where she once studied the life stories of her parents and then of Nathan. She sighed. She didn't remember anything about that research anymore.
Show me Noemi, my foster daughter.
Etien dipped her hand in the water. She saw nothing. It was as if a person with that name did not exist at all. It was the same with Elstar. Etien remembered the day of her coronation. The crystal told her to use her real name, the one her parents had given her. Before, they had given her the pseudonym that the girl had used for the first 25 years of her life. Etien, Diana. She was certain that the same thing had happened when Elstar ascended the throne. The twins found out that they had different names, different parents, that Etien had not given birth to them at all, that they were not siblings. They felt deceived, lied to all their lives. Elstar's parents died in a fire caused by their 6-month-old son. Nobody wanted to take care of such a dangerous freak, so the little boy ended up in the palace. Noemi's parents could not be found. Etien bought the kidnapped girl, and although she tried to return her to her parents, she did not succeed. Time was running out. Something had to be done with the children, so Etien came up with a story about twins, Noemi's illness, and presented them to her subjects as her own children. After this performance, Noemi could not be given away, so Etien stopped looking for girls' parents. If the angels found out that they were not using their real names, Noemi called upon death. She brought Elstar's parents back, so the boy learned his name and ascended the throne. And Noemi? If her parents were still alive, she didn't learn anything from death, except that the evil Etien had kidnapped her from her home to raise her as the heir to the throne. Noemi might have thought that Etien had planned everything to protect herself from being dethroned. Until Zuzu finds Noemi's parents and finds out what her name really is. Etien will not find out anything in the land of death. The failure of yet another plan stung Etien to the quick. Her own lack of foresight and failure to resolve matters with Noemi's parents came back to haunt her. The current crisis was largely her fault. In hindsight, Etien regretted not having told the children the truth when she had the chance. Before she had gone to the desert to end the life of Emperor Hurlstar, that she had never explained her motives to them, had not allowed them to see into her thoughts, her memories. She kept telling herself that it would be better this way, that no one would ever find out. She forgot about the crown ceremony. Did Noemi find her parents? Did she find out her real name? Or did she decide that the less fuss she made about it, the better? Not knowing her name, Noemi protected herself from many search spells and name curses.
Are you here again? Maybe more time has passed down there.
Aylin destroyed your stones. I was waiting for you in the hope that you would help me recreate them. By the way, how did you know I was here? Do you often come to the pond?
Gabriel sat down on the unreal grass next to Etien. He did not look at his friend. He avoided her gaze as if he had something indecent on his conscience, as if he had invented a way to follow her wanderings, despite the lack of power and being in a place where nothing worked the way people assumed it would.
Mind magic is based on sensing certain things. Things invisible to others. Your visits cause disturbances in the atmosphere of this place. It's as if the wind is blowing from a different direction. I have learned to track these anomalies, to distinguish their source and location over time. You are not the only living being who occasionally comes here.
And who else does visit you? Death mages?
It turns out that our bodies end up here during the transformation. Intriguing, isn't it? The consciousness remains below, as does the energy, while the body drifts above the spirits of the dead. That's how I know that the number of black mages has increased.
This news in particular made Etien very happy. Throughout her reign, she had struggled with an insufficient number of subordinates dressed in black robes.
Returning to the main topic of our discussion, why did Aylin destroy the stones?
I don't know. How to make them?
Gabriel shook his head. If he was to point out Etienne's greatest weakness, it would be jumping to conclusions too quickly, making decisions based on incomplete information, going into battle without reconnaissance. Etien did everything in a hurry. Many actions were carried out on the spur of the moment.
Without the old stones, you can't make the new ones. I described the whole process of building them in my diary, which I also gave to Aylin. Did you two have a fight? Over the black robe?
Aylin doesn't know that I'm back, and I have no intention of depriving her of her position. I'm tired of being in charge of the mages. Living for an idea. Sometimes you have to take care of making your own dreams come true.
The words spoken did not suit Etien at all, so much so that both interlocutors laughed quietly. They knew that Etien, like no other, could not live otherwise than dedicating herself to others, than fighting for the good of the world and the people who inhabit it. That was why she had come to the land of death. That was why she was waiting for Gabriel.
Maybe it's not my business anymore. The most important ingredient in both stones is liquid crystals. It's impossible for us to make them. I came across them by accident, in some place forgotten by people. I discovered that they enhance mental interactions. I added a few ingredients to achieve a specific effect, and that's it. Although now I'm thinking that maybe my ingredients don't harmonize with the way your mind works. Maybe you'll have to make some minor changes to the formula. You need to find something that makes it easier for you to concentrate. It can be herb, mineral, such things.
In that case, I'll take back the leftover of your stones and your journal. I think that I concentrate the best when I keep a feather in my hand. Could it be a feather? Great. Thanks for your help.
Gabriel held Etien back on the grass. He was worried about the unclear situation in the palace, about potential friction among the death mages. And most of all, he was worried about the prospect of an imminent meeting with his daughter and perhaps more children. Sandra, Chorus, and Nadia were also in the palace, and if they stood up for Aylin, the four of them would end up in the afterlife.
That's not all. The stones have to be customized for the user. When you see purple streaks inside, the stones are ready to use. What's going on down there?
In a nutshell, Noemi is trying to take over the throne by destroying everything around her, so I want to talk to her. And since Noemi is not Noemi and nobody knows her name, I need the stones to locate her. I also miss Nathan. They both know how to hide like nobody else.
Etienne's thoughts wandered to the second break-in in Aylin's room. This time, they were looking for Gabriel's diary because she had located the rest of the stones the first time. That was, if Aylin hadn't noticed anything and hadn't changed the location of the locked box. That was if she hadn't hidden her father's diary somewhere outside her room.
Don't you lead the death mages?
No, I don't feel like it. I'm disappointed in them, if you really need to know. And I don't want to force them to choose a leader. I don't want to stand up to Aylin. What else don't I want? To deal with the adepti.
Gabriel smiled to himself. As a young mage, Etienne had no patience for teaching others. Eternal did not torture her with students. She avoided classes herself like the plague. After putting on the robe of the Mistress of Death, Etien gave lessons a few times. However, her results-oriented teaching method, adapted to her own pace of learning, did not find many amateurs. Highly talented individuals of all elements and specializations flocked to Etien, even winning palace tournaments just to get a few private lessons. The average guys couldn't keep up, and Etien threw the weaklings into the abyss. In fact, she did it to all her students to find out what their greatest talent was.
Why are you disappointed in the mages?
I've been living for 16 years already, quite close to the palace, and none of them found me. Not that I was hiding my abilities. I revealed myself to the local mage because he annoyed me. I cleared the region of bandits. Suzu visits me. I was on a mission with Uzumayat and Sonja. And Breeze recognized me. Ollivander didn't, but mind magic is probably his magical hole. I don't remember. A lot has slipped my mind.
The mages waited for Etien to return to them. Etien waited for them to find her, and they could have waited for each other like that until the end of the world. Gabriel wondered how to encourage Etien to break the deadlock, to meet Aylin and solve their problem peacefully. He decided to first consult his friends Cedric, Volatile, and Eternal, and even Narcissus, who seemed to notice those characteristics of Etienne's character that others missed. Meanwhile, Etien returned home, where Gabriel's diary, a box with broken stones, and a letter from Zuzu were waiting for her.
I spoke to Aylin. She told me about the stones. She destroyed them by accident when she used them to find you. She didn't know how to fix them, so they had been lying forgotten in her room for 10 years. I hope you can put them back together. Let me know when you return from the land of the dead.
Etien didn't want to let her know. She had barely returned from the underworld, tired, hungry, and sleep-deprived. She didn't know how many days had passed down there. She didn't feel like going back to the court, but she didn't want to look in the box that Zuzu had brought her either. She looked out of the window. The clouds were still glowing bright yellow, but the sun was already hiding behind the horizon. Etien found a sack of orange feathers in front of the doors. She took them in and threw to the pantry, together with other things delivered by Gabriella. She not only had to repair stones destroyed by Aylin, but prepare a remedy for Naomi and solve the mystery of Uzumaat's transformations. Marigold was still dizzy after a long sleep, so Etien used the time to cook something and to draw the outline of Naomi's new robe.
If you learned how to sew, you would help me with this.
We can ask Rose or my mother, right? It is a good reason to pay them a visit. You know, I miss my family and would like to see them.
When she lived at home, Marigold voluntarily kept contact with her family to a minimum. Nothing made her happier than the prospect of leaving. If she had finally left home for good, why would she want to go back?
You know, they haven't visited me in Sintra even once. I'm a little worried.
If the feeling was mutual, they would have come to the court. I ran away from home when I was 16. I was fed up with being constantly controlled, having my freedom restricted, being forbidden everything that involved being far away from home. I joined the death mages.
Really? What about your parents? Didn't they look for you?
That's what I'm getting at. Although they didn't know where I was, they found me in a forest. They had been looking for me since I ran away. Although our meeting ended in a fight, and I never saw them again, it turned out that they had contacted my teachers to find out how I was doing. You can fill in the rest yourself.
In retrospect, Etien considered herself a bad daughter. She was so offended by her parents that she did not try to contact them. Until it was too late. She received their last will and letter of apology. They couldn't protect her.
Do you think they don't care about me?
I don't know what makes your parents tick. But I'll tell you something from my own experience. I raised 4 children. And even though they gave me a hard time more than once, even though they started their own families over time, even though they moved out of the house, as long as I was alive, I was close to them, ready to offer advice, help, and treatment. Even after they kicked me out of the house, took away the throne, and everything else,